the perfect speaker. The perfect speaker. Yeah, I'm the perfect speaker. Here we are. Tony, thank you very much. Unlike just about everybody here this morning, I actually had to write what I wanted to say down. I hope you don't mind. Otherwise, I get very tangential very quickly, like now. So I'm going to read. My thought is that, my first thought, Al just told me that Giuliani was once the perfect speaker here, and Al Roker was once the perfect speaker. So I'm trying to, my thought is I'll talk less and play a couple of songs. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm just hoping Giuliani didn't play any songs while he was here. So here we go. Good morning. I am humbled and honored to be here. And honestly, I'm a little bit baffled too. Tony and I are fellow parishioners at St. Mary's in Richfield. When he called and asked me if I would be this year's celebrity speaker for the annual Catholic Charities breakfast at the Amber Room, I immediately thought, celebrity? Actually, my first thought was, wow, great. I love the Amber Room. I sure hope they're serving that chicken parm. I've spent a lot of time in this room at a bunch of baseball banquets. But really, to me, celebrity generally means big, famous, important. And I'm pretty much 0 for 3 on that front. I've made a career out of being small, under the radar, and generally pretty unimportant. Just ask my kids. So in an effort to manage expectations, let's just say, hey, the food was really good, and he didn't talk that long. Tony asked that I speak this morning about how faith and family have influenced and affected my career as a singer-songwriter. I would say that they haven't affected my career. They've defined it. Without my faith and without my family, I would have very little to write about, and I would have very little to say to you today. So first, I'll tell you a little bit about my faith and my family, and then play a couple songs. I'm a storyteller, and my songs serve as the vehicle for those stories. My songwriting allows me to explore, it allows me to create, and it allows me to connect. I explore my faith, my doubts, my questions, my concerns. I create in, around, over, and through my family. And I connect with the world around me, all through my songwriting. My wife Lynn and I both grew up in Richfield, where we still live today. We have 5 kids. Well, we like to say we have 3 kids and 2 grandchildren. The younger ones, we basically say yes to just about everything. Hey, you want to go hitchhike through Europe without any money and you're like 12? Sure, sounds great. Don't forget to brush your teeth. I actually grew up hitchhiking to Sunday Mass at St. Mary's. Usually it was the 9:30 Mass. And I knew that if I could get down to North Street by 9:15, I was pretty much guaranteed that the Markeys would be driving to Mass and pick me up with their VW bus. Not only would I get a ride to church, but if I sat with the Markeys during Mass, I'd get a ride home too. I grew up in a very musical family. My dad was a Dixie trombone player. He assigned all of his 7 kids an instrument at birth. And mine was the trumpet. And I played it until I was 14, at which point I traded in my trumpet for a basketball and a baseball. I played both sports in college. I studied history. And during my senior year, I slowly began to realize how much I loved words and putting them together. I began to write as a hobby, first poetry, which evolved into verse and ultimately became lyric. After college, I went to work. I was living in New Jersey. I did that for 3 years. It was a straight job, paid off my loans, and set about my path of wanting to be a writer. At 26, Lynn and I got engaged. For Christmas, she bought me my first guitar. So thoughtful, so supportive. A few days later, I returned the guitar and traded it in for one that I really wanted. Yeah. I've been writing songs now for about 30 years. In the early years, there was not enough money, not enough time, not enough sleep. I made a decision to tour and take my songs wherever people were interested in hearing them, as long as I could get home at night. I decided to go small, to do close, to embrace simple. So my territory became everywhere between Boston and DC. I remember gigs in Washington where I would finish up at 11, jump in the car, crawl into bed around 4, and the kids would be bouncing on me at 6. For a lot of years, I played anywhere and everywhere. Coffee houses and house concerts, listening rooms and college quarter beer nights, birthdays and bar mitzvahs, weddings and funerals. I remember one gig I didn't get because they decided to go with the juggler instead. I went wherever anyone would listen. There was a lot of late night driving. I ate a lot of Hostess fruit pies. My family and my writing became my life's passion. Not love, but passion. Not only the joy that we associate with love, but also the pain and the sacrifice that comes with the territory when it comes to true passion. Lynn and I have carved out a great little life, and I have had a nice little career. Celebrity? Well, at least my kids don't have to hitchhike to Mass. Actually, we live right in the St. Mary's Parish neighborhood. In fact, we pass right by Monsignor Bronkowitz's house as we walk to church. In fact, the kids also spent years cutting through Monsignor's yard on the way to the neighborhood pool. Lynn and I are blessed to be able to raise our kids in our hometown, to be able to attend the same church that we grew up in and were married in. Over the years, St. Mary's has introduced us to the Engaged Encounter and Cursillo ministries. I've enjoyed coaching CYO basketball and teaching CCD. One of my favorite memories from this fall was watching our youngest, Johnny, work the cotton candy and snow cone machines at the St. Mary's Fair. 2 of our kids are out of college and on their own. 2 are in college, and poor Johnny is left at home in high school with a spotlight on him every night at dinner. Finding time to write is a lot easier than it used to be. But these days, I spend a lot of time visiting with my mom, who lives right in town. We go for walks, we talk, we go to doctor appointments. Lynn and I have more time to spend together. We take more walks into town like we did before kids. Our newlywed Friday nights of going to the gym, having pizza, and going to the movies have returned. Only nowadays, sometimes we just skip the gym. Tony and I had breakfast with Michelle from Catholic Charities about a month back. It was so great to hear about all the things that Catholic Charities does throughout Fairfield County. Their efforts in providing services for immigrants and the homeless and coordinating disaster relief and healthcare services for those in need is inspirational. Michelle described how 30 people meet here in Danbury every week to talk about their clients in order to coordinate and address each person's needs. Police, emergency professionals, Danbury Hospital employees, people from social services all meet every week in a collaborative effort to make lives better. That's the body of Christ. The working hands and the loving heart. You can't sit with Michelle for 5 minutes without noticing her passion when it comes to helping the homeless. So here we are on an ordinary Thursday in October. Celebrity? If there's a celebrity in the room, it's Michelle. Mostly, we're just ordinary people. We're just doing ordinary things. And we're trying to make an extraordinary difference. What a great way to start the day. Thank you all for all that you do. Thank you. Okay, so this is the part where I strip. No, kidding. Humor. Yeah. Thank you. Tony and I didn't review this, so, he didn't sign off on that part. So, let's see. I'm much more comfortable with that in my hands. I thought I would share 2 songs and drink some water. And the first song, hey, just to see if I can hit that note. Hey. Hey. So, first song. I think I'm going to want to see for this. First song. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. True story. Took place at Harbor Yard in Bridgeport. Well, Angel, he played shortstop, a lifetime minor leaguer, all glove and no stick. He was a lifetime underachiever. But on one September Sunday, he made us all believers when he swung and hit his first grand slam home run. Standing on our seats, me and my son. Well, we walked down toward the dugout, and as we walked down through the stands, my son shined up a backyard baseball in his hands, and he handed it to Angel as if he'd had it planned. And Angel took his pen like ball players do, but my son smiled and said, "No, it's for you." On one September Sunday, Angels won Grand Slam home run day. I've long forgotten who was pitching, but the players looked like preachers, and I saw church pews where there were bleachers. And the game became religion. Angel looked confused. He looked a little riled. He looked at me for help, but all I offered was a smile. He gave the baseball back to my son and paused for a while. And in the most perfect moment I'll ever see, he passed the pen and said, "Son, could you sign it for me?" Well, on one September Sunday, Angels won Grand Slam home run day. I've long forgotten who was pitching, but the players looked like preachers, and I saw church pews where there were bleachers. And the game became religion. And as I watched him write those big black squiggly letters, yeah, I couldn't help but feel the world get a little bit better. On that one September Sunday, Angels won Grand Slam home run day. I've long forgotten who was pitching, but the players looked like preachers, and I saw church pews where there were bleachers. And the game became religion. When the game became religion. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Just one more. You're doing great. I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for inviting me. This is my first breakfast. This is the first time I've ever had breakfast. I want to thank you for supporting Catholic Charities. I want to say thank you. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to play you my big hit now. This thing is a monster smash. Celebrity? Yeah. So I think that I mean they're playing this thing a lot in like northern Wisconsin. It's getting a lot of rotations. It's so nice that you can laugh at my career that easily. Yeah. Okay, so it's a little story. Christmas morning as a kid. I have 6 brothers and sisters. Every Christmas, one of us got a bike, which meant every Christmas 6 of us didn't. So as a folkie, I generally sing about the famine, not the feast, the 6 years of famine. Anyway, walnuts and rice. Thank you all. It was a disappointing Christmas when I was just a kid. I didn't get the bike I wanted, but my brother did. Surrounded by presents, all I could see was that 10 speed. I looked at Mom and Dad and said, it's the bike I really need. He took one handful of walnuts and one handful of rice. You see, my dad, he had a funny way of handing out advice. Well, first he poured the rice in this empty candy jar. But when he poured the walnuts in, they spilled down to the floor. He said the walnuts are like the people you love, your mom, your brother, and me. And the rice is all the things in life that we all think we need. Yeah, how we fill this empty jar is how we live our lives. First things first, there's room for both walnuts and rice. Well, I looked at him all confused, and he looked at me all content. And as a smile grew across his face, I asked him what he meant. Then he emptied out that jar, but before he put it back, this time he poured the nuts in first, and the rice filled in the cracks. He said the walnuts are like the people you love, your mom, your brother, and me. And the rice is all the things in life that we all think we need. Yeah, how we fill this empty jar is how we live our lives. First things first, there's room for both walnuts and rice. Yeah, first things first, there's room for both walnuts and rice.